be ready. I have new homework coming. That new homework is homework 4, due 2 days before the exam. Okay, but homework 4 doesn't take that much time. Okay, homework 4 doesn't take that much time. Homework 4 look like this. Okay, this is not exactly the same as the last year exam. Last year exam solution is available. So this time I add gas equalizing line. And second problem, gas equalizing line get plugged. Okay, and we calculate like oil height or something. Next one is about using the chart. This can be done like very quick. Okay, the last one and number 4, let's calculate slenderness ratio very quick. Last one is somewhat difficult, but it's similar to what we have in the class. And each question is 2.4. If you get more than 10, your score cap to 10. Okay, good. Okay, who missed the field trip? Everyone go to the field trip, right? Okay. Last time I did some mistake talking about how to do this BSNW. When we add toluene in, we have to shake first. Okay. When we shake, we spin it. The one that have high density go to the bottom. The low density go to the top. Okay. It doesn't mix by itself. The reason that we don't use water because water doesn't decrease the viscosity of the crude oil. But toluene, it mixes very well with crude oil and it decreases the viscosity and it makes these things separate quick. Okay. So we can use toluene, hexane, and something else. And we talk about heating and loss of light end. This is something from last time too. Okay. In fast skin tank battery, they try to heat it. Okay. Intentionally heating it so that they can meet the reed vapor pressure requirement. Okay. Reed vapor pressure requirement is about this. In NYMEX rulebooks, New York Mercantile Exchange, the blend of West Texas Intermediate, North Texas Sweet, Oklahoma Sweet, South Texas Sweet shall have the reed vapor pressure less than 9.5 psi at 100 Fahrenheit. So this is for the safety when we ship this crude oil by using train. Okay, this for safety purpose. This is not the rule, okay, but it's come from the crude oil contract. If we have reed vapor pressure more than that, they don't buy it. Okay, reed vapor pressure has to be less than that. What is that about? 9.5 psi. I Google it and I find that they heat it to 100 Fahrenheit. Heat it to 101 Fahrenheit. And if the vapor pressure is less than 9.5 psi A, it is okay. Okay. Please recall that when vapor pressure equal to 1 atm, that is where the liquid phase reach the boiling point. Right? For example, if water vapor pressure equal to 1 atm, it is boiling. Right? So that's reed vapor pressure. For the reed vapor pressure, this AC method was designed in 1930. There's a new method. And the new method, they use true vapor pressure. Okay. The new pipeline signed in January 2017. It is Keystone Pipeline. It's US-Canada crude oil pipeline. It's in Montana. Okay. So the requirement for this pipeline is the crude oil need to have true vapor pressure of 96 kilopascal, about 10 psia. Okay. As per this SCM standard, different psia. So true vapor pressure for this case is also defined at 100 Fahrenheit. Okay. It is more accurate, and of course it will be more expensive to get than reed vapor pressure. This is something that you have to be aware of. Okay, so this means we cannot have too much light in the oil. Simon, what are you doing? Are you studying, right? Oh, look at the slide. Let me give you this, Simon. Oh, Kiden, you should have this, right? Give this to Simon, okay? So that he can pay more attention. Is this not fun? So this one is number 4, gas compression, and I have tank battery. Give this to Simon. You want it to? Oh, you have to answer some questions. So we talk about this heater treater, and the part that's left is about calculation part. Today we are going to try to finish all the calculation part for heater treater, right? And then we move on to the tanking. For the calculation part, okay, we will calculate the amount of heat required to heat oil and water emulsion temperature up to a certain Fahrenheit. So we add something in. How do we know what kind of temperature that we operate? Do we have to heat it until 100 Fahrenheit? If we do it like that, what is the size of the fire tube that we need? We don't know the size of fire tube, right? We need to do some calculation. So to do the calculation correctly, we need to know CP. Okay, CP is specific heat capacity. For water, it's about twice of oil. For water, is about 1 BTU per pound per Fahrenheit. For oil, it's just 0.5. BTU means the amount of energy required to raise 1 pound of water to have the temperature go up by 1 Fahrenheit. Okay, if we add 1 BTU to 1 pound of water, the temperature will go up by 1 Fahrenheit. Oil take half of that energy. So for oil, it is just 0.5. Okay. The calculation part is just this equation. W equal to some constant multiplied by specific gravity multiplied by flow rate. Capital Q sub L is flow rate in barrel per day, and but this one is to convert from barrel per day to barrel per hour. Okay, from barrel per day to pound per hour. So capital W is mass flow rate in pound per hour, and capital Q, that one is barrel per day. So we have barrel per day, we multiply by specific gravity, we multiply by unit conversion factor. We know that is 350 pound per barrel, and we know that there's 24 hours per day. Okay, by doing this, we can convert from barrel per day to pound per hour. Okay, keep this in mind. And next step is total heat loss equal to heat loss, not heat loss. Total heat requirement is the heat that used to heat oil, which is QO, heat that used to heat water, which is QW, plus some heat loss. Okay, so heat that used to heat oil, we have mass flow rate. Okay, mass flow rate multiplied by CP multiplied by delta T. I think you have heard about M equal to Q equal to M multiplied by CP delta T, right? That is for nothing moving. When something is moved, instead of mCp delta T, we use W Cp delta T. W is the mass flow rate in pound per hour. Cp is specific heat capacity, BTU per pound per Fahrenheit. Delta T is the temperature that we want to raise it up. So if we want the temperature to go up by 1 Fahrenheit, delta T will be 1, right? And if we have 1 pound of water per hour, and Cp of water is just 1, right? Specific heat capacity of water is just 1. So this means we need about 1 BTU per hour if we have 1 pound per hour of water. Right? So when we put all this in, we will get the amount of heat required in the unit of BTU per hour. Make sense? We want to know how many BTU per hour that we need. BTU, when we have energy per unit time, that is power, right? Okay, energy per unit time, small q is power. So different formula for QO and QW is because it has different specific heat capacity. We assume heat loss is about 10% of total heat required. Okay, heat loss is 10%. So we have 0.1 Q and that Q. Okay, Q minus 0.1 Q is 0.9 Q, right? So we assume that it's 0.1. And okay, this equation, we just add previous equation together. Add this equation, QO and QW together. We have this one. And this time, in Arnold's textbook, they do some assumption. The reason that I talk about Arnold's textbook a lot because it's one of the standard textbooks that used when people do some kind of facility design. Okay, in that textbook, they use assumption of 0.1 QO equal to Q water. The amount of heat required to heat water is about 0.1 of oil. So this means we assume some water cut or water fraction in crude oil. This means we don't have much water. We say, hey, amount of heat required is just 10% of heat required for oil. So QW equal to 0.1 QO, we put it in, we get this formula. Okay, this formula. This is good. It gives us a quick approximation, right? If we have temperature raised by a certain Fahrenheit, we know the oil flow rate, we know specific gravity of oil, we can calculate the firebox rating in BTU per hour right away without need to know how much water is coming. Okay, so this is done with the assumption that amount of heat required for water is just 10% of oil case. But what if we have more information? If we have more information, we can do it more accurate. Instead of this equation, we use the same thing. Same thing means this part is the same, but this time we introduce the concept of water cut. Okay, for water cut thing, you see, WC is water cut, water fraction multiplied by 1. That number 1 is, what is that number 1? And what is that number 0.5? Who want this sheet? Ptolemy, can you come here please? Who want the lecture note? I still have 2 more copies. Okay, and it's 3 of that. Okay, where is it? 3. I have some left. Who wants to help me? Okay, you, Tris. Okay, give this to him. Okay. And I have just 2 left. Okay, Tris. What is 0.5? What is that? What is that 0.5? Stay here, stay here. What is that 0.5? Come from where? You get the stuff already, you have to answer. What about number 1? Okay, let's go back a little bit. A little bit more. Maybe a little bit more. Look at this one. What is that? What is 0.5? What is the symbol to for it? Symbol describe it. Is that this part? CP? Specific heat capacity. Correct. So for water, stay here. For water, it's 1 BTU per hour per Fahrenheit, but for oil it's 0.5 BTU per hour per Fahrenheit, right? So that's why we have 0.5. And we have oil flow rate. Is that oil flow rate? Yes, oil flow rate. And we have water flow rate. Not flow rate, I'm sorry. Heat that used for oil. That one is heat that used for oil. That one is heat that used for water. When I go back, capital Q, this is heat or flow rate, okay. I'm sorry. Capital Q is flow rate. Volumetric flow rate, okay. Barrel per day. That's capital Q, okay. So we have volumetric flow rate for oil, volumetric flow rate for water. Alright. Next, we want to combine that volumetric flow rate for oil and volumetric flow rate for water by using water cut concept, volume fraction. Okay. So this part, who want to help me more? No one want to print out the slide, right? Because you can look in the computer. Who want the slide? Maybe not this question. Show them the printout. Yeah. turn the print now. Is very big for first slide. Raise your hand. You want which one that is missing for you? You usually have one? Okay, give him two more. Give him two more. Yes. Okay. Capital Q is volumetric flow rate. We try to express it in terms of water cut. So maybe no question for you yet. I say Q total volumetric flow rate in barrel per day multiplied by 1 minus water cut. So Gideon, what is WC? It is water cut. Is it from 0 to 100 or 0 to 1? 0 to 1 is a fraction, right? Because we use 1 minus, right? So that WC has to be 0 for 1. So Q total multiplied by 1 minus WC give us oil flow rate. Oh, no. Yes, oil flow rate. Q total multiplied by that WC give me volumetric flow rate barrel per day of water. Okay. Rearrange it, get all that number together, and substitute some approximation in. To simplify the equation, I say, hey, we need to know CP. I put CP of oil, I use about 0.62. Okay. Instead of 0.5, I use 0.62. And density of oil, yeah, let's assume it to be that much. So specific gravity, how do I get specific gravity from that density of oil? Given 1000, then I get SG, right? So by assuming rho oil equal to 783, we plug everything in, we get this equation. 2 years ago, there was a question about how do I get 6.35, and everyone can do it because I tell them before the exam that it will be the exam. But this year I haven't made the exam yet. Maybe you don't have to derive 6.35. Okay. Question? Yes.
Is there a specific reason for using density or 783?
783 is very low. Maybe API gravity more than some 40, even more than 40 degrees. It's just a rough approximation. I have specific reason for that CP. CP of 0.62. Typically, oil specific head capacity is not that high. Look at this graph. 0.62 of CP BTU per bar per Fahrenheit. This is my 0.66. Okay, this is 0.6. So 0.62 may be that value. That is for API gravity of 60. So that is like upper limit. So 0.62 is upper limit. Typically, let's say we have API gravity of 32. Okay, 32. So at the temperature of Fahrenheit, maybe 80 Fahrenheit is about 0.45. If we use 0.62, we get the maximum requirement for the firebox. Okay, so this means we put 0.62 in. So instead of 0.5, this will give us somewhat overestimate Q value. So it will hit oil for sure. Okay. So we use maximum possible value for CP of oil so that we get the maximum possible value for firebox rating be on the conservative side. Right? So this equation allows us to get firebox rating BTU per hour. And of course, there is another method to get BTU per hour. This method requires us to use the chart. Number one, we need to know the flow rate of emulsion that go to heater treater. And I have 10, 100, 1000, okay? Even though I don't have another 20, that's 1000. So when I know the emulsion flow rate, let's say my emulsion flow rate is 60 barrel per day. I go up, this is percentage for percent of emulsion in water. So I say, hey, no emulsion. Then I turn left. I say, okay, temperature raise in degree Fahrenheit. I want to raise it about that line. That line is 60 Fahrenheit. So let's say is incoming at 60 and I want to heat another 60, then in the heater treater will be 120 or something like that. So I hit that line, then I go up, then I read that value. Okay, this is 10,000 BTU per hour, that is 20,000, this will be maybe 20.5 or something, 25,000 BTU per hour or something. Last year we have exam on this, and the input flow rate is not 60, it's not 600, but it's like 2,000 or maybe 3,000 barrel per day. 3,000 barrel per day is beyond the chart. You see, the horizontal axis end at 1,000. What do we do for 3,000? Get in? No. I remember there's two people get apples. Paul, you get apple, right? Yeah, on Saturday. How does it taste? It tastes good? Okay. So if I have flow rate of 3,000 barrel per day, can I use this chart? Yes or no? Yes or no? You don't think so? Okay. Who else get apple?
Yes, you can.
Yes. Okay. How do we do it?
Note at the bottom, so capacity is larger than the current range divided by 10, this is large multiplied divided by 10.
Everyone hear him? 3,000. We divide it by 10 first. 3,000 becomes 300. Then we proceed as usual, right? When we get the result, we multiply by 10. For capacity larger than the chart range, divide the rate by 10. Use this on the chart, then multiply the heat required by 10 to find the direct heat required. Last year when I print the chart, I also include that statement. The student still cannot do it. So this time I have to say it very clear in class. Alright? So if it is beyond, read the chart, read the note, and then you can do it. Okay, that's a heat requirement. Based on the chart, okay, Q total, I substitute the value in Q total 60 barrel per day, and water cut of 0, I get 22,800 BTU per hour, and on the chart, I get about the same. Done. That's heat requirement. How much do we heat? For loose emulsion, we heat it to about 100 to 120. Moderate emulsion, maybe 120 to 140. Very tight emulsion, we heat it really hot. In addition to this requirement, okay, this guideline, we may decide to heat it a little hot to separate some light end out so that we read the true vapor pressure or read vapor pressure requirement of 9.5 psi at 100 F. You agree? Even though we have loose emulsion, Faskin decide to heat it a little hotter than usual, so that when they sell oil doesn't have too much light end. If it has too much light end, the vapor pressure will be high. So they kind of remove the light end out. You got it? Yes. Okay. In addition to this guideline, it may deviate from this because we may need to remove some light end to meet the real vapor pressure requirement. Think about the true vapor pressure requirement. If you want to sell to Canada, that's a Canada oil, right? That we put oil, import oil from Canada. We use 10 psia, and this requirement of true vapor pressure thing is 2017. It's new. Okay, it's new. But that guideline that you have is many years ago. All right. It also depends on what kind of treater that we use. If we have another draft flow treater that have a lot of tray, if we have a lot of tray, some unit doesn't have much tray. Okay, tray. So some unit doesn't have much tray in here. But this have more tray. This means oil will stay in there longer. It will stay inside longer. So we may not need to heat that much. So she was saying, hey, if we buy a little more expensive unit, instead of buy regular unit, if we pay a little bit more, have the flow treater, we don't have to heat much. We still get the same separation. Don't need to heat much mean good, right? We don't have to pay for a big firebox rating. We don't have to use too much energy, right? Okay. So this is benefit of the flow treater. So in addition to this guideline, it also depends on what is inside the separator. If there's a lot of tray, if there's some kind of special design, we may not to heat that much. Heating in gun barrel is not quite common. In fasting tank battery, we don't have gun barrel at all. If you notice, you remember when you go to fasting tank battery, you don't have gun barrel. When you go to oxy, you will see gun barrel, but there's no heating in gun barrel. Okay, heating in gun barrel can be for the case of heavy oil, like API gravity equal to 10 or 11 or something, very close to water. For the case of heavy oil, we may need to heat inside gun barrel. It is uncommon to have a heating unit in gun barrel. Okay, and typically, a common way of do heating is direct heating. Oil or water, emulsion touch directly with the heating element. Okay, the yellow thing here is water. Production fluid touch directly with the heating element. Okay, indirect heating is the same thing that we use in the line heater. We heat water first and use water to heat the coil. That's indirect heating. Okay, so line heater is indirect heating. Common way of using heating method for heater treater is direct heating. Of course, there are some uncommon way of indirect heating. Okay, Daniel, you get apple, did you?
Yeah.
No? Okay. So why do I want to do indirect heating for emulsion? Any particular reason? Who have the answer? To have the answer, you may need to look in the next slide or something. It's more corrosive. Okay, it's more corrosive. Indirect heating heater for corrosive fluid with cast iron coil. If the fluid is very corrosive, we may not be able to heat it directly. So we want to protect the heating element, we want to protect other part of the tank. So we have to use cast iron coil. And we heat water first and use water to heat that oil. So that's why there's a U value chart for oil film coefficient, film coefficient for oil, and film coefficient for water. Okay, so we have a coil like what you have seen in heater treater. And we calculate the film coefficient and do the same thing that we did for heater treater. This is uncommon, it's not in the exam, but just so you know that we can use cast iron, okay, and do indirect heating too. But majority of the unit is direct heating, okay. And if we do, if the oil contains both oil and water, so we use a chart to get U value of oil, use a chart to get U value of water, and then combine it by using this thing, okay. And the rest, the calculation part is the same as in heater treater. It's not in the exam, but just so you know. But direct heating, yes. Okay. How do we do direct heating? Use this chart. Just that. Or use that 3.66, 3.65, plus something, something, something. There's not many questions that I can ask you. Okay. Because it's just this much. Alright. Next part. Coil area requirement for indirect heating. This is the same as heater treater. It's not common, so we skip. This part is film coefficient. It's not common, so we skip. Indirect heating is similar to heater, line heater. Okay, we typically don't do this indirect heating unless it's corrosive fluid. Okay, gravity separation. This is a review. We use this kind of concept too. Gravity separation. Maybe this is a solution for your homework, right? The derivation part. Use the stroke law, net buoyancy. This is the same part as in the separator part, and eventually we get this value. This concept is also used in the heater-treater unit, right? To find out what is the speed that it goes through if we want to do any kind of approximation. This is field, but SI unit, field unit. Okay. Settling equation for horizontal case. So this case, water droplet sinking velocity equal to oil phase moving up velocity. So this is used for heater-treater. Look, they use the same equation, but it's a little different in derivation. Okay, based on what is the cross-section area of the floor. So we have emulsion coming in, water, something. So the derivation is same concept. We don't have this in the exam, and you don't really use this one in here, but it's already in the homework for the case of horizontal separator, if you recall. Okay. Settling equation, F equal to 1 for spreader or something. The common unit for the heater-treater is vertical unit. Is it Benny? Vertical unit. So we don't have many horizontal unit for heater-treater. At least in West Texas, 5-skin tank battery, I have seen just vertical heater-treater. Okay. Settling equation. For vertical estimation, this again, we just keep this for your information. We don't really use it in the exam or anything, but because most of the time we use the chart. Okay. Treater sizing. Alright. For vertical treater size or gun barrel, we can use this equation. Okay. This equation say need the information on viscosity. Previously we had the equation that had W Q equal to 3 point something plus H point something. That is for firebox rating, but it doesn't tell us about the size, right? This thing tells us about the size. What size do we need? If we have vertical treater, what is the diameter that we need? If we have horizontal treater, what is the height and length? This equation also used for gun barrel tank. The way to use is W, our capacity, how much that we want to put in. C, constant from the next table. The difference in specific gravity, we need to know viscosity. Viscosity is in the unit of, what is viscosity? I think it's centipoise. And put everything in. Then we can get W value. Okay? This is a question for the case where we know emulsion flow rate. Okay? We know emulsion flow rate. It is maybe 500 barrel per day, something. So that W, I think W is the same unit. In the exam, I will tell you the unit, but here I just pick it up. So we have the diameter. When we know the flow rate, we know all three property, we can tell what should be the size of the tank. Good. This is for heater-treater. We need to use the C value because this time, this C value is an empirical value. The size, bigger the size, give us more retention time. We will need more retention time for the case of tight emulsion, right? For tight emulsion, we need more retention time, so it needs to be bigger. Think about this. If the left-hand side is constant and C value is very small, then we need more diameter, right? So this means tight emulsion, C value is small, moderate emulsion is become bigger, and free water is very big. Good. So we for the case of not tight emulsion, have some free water or loose emulsion, it doesn't need much retention time. We can have a little smaller size. Okay, this is the way to do the calculation. Oh, W is oil capacity variable. Use mu W instead of mu O if water is continuous phase. The part on the bottom is for the corner phase viscosity. When we really do it, use a chart. Okay? That part is the equation that used to make the chart. Okay, that's the equation that made the chart. So this is for the actual estimation. We can use that for trigger. First step, we specify what is the specific gravity of water that we have. Okay, and then we go up and read this part is gravity of oil. API at 60 Fahrenheit. What is the oil API gravity in this example? Is about 35. And then next stop is what is the treater temperature? How much is treater temperature? So we stop at about 140. We try to treat it 140. And then we go up and see what kind of emulsion. Is this a loose emulsion, moderate emulsion, or tight emulsion? So moderate emulsion is that one. So we go up until moderate emulsion. Then we try to say, what size do we want to use? Do we want to use a 6 by 20? So this is the size of the treater. Okay. Then we stop at the size of treater, and then we can tell how much is the oil capacity that it can handle. Good. Or emulsion capacity that it can handle. Capacity correction factor for the shell length greater than 20 feet, we may have to multiply by some value. I put it here. Alright, it just use a chart. And this is for vertical downflow chart. If we have conventional model, use a conventional model chart. It just follow the line. Where is those lines in the chart come from? It is from this kind of equation. Okay, so when we have equation, maybe one day you will be the one who make the chart. Okay, not just use the chart. That's what it is, okay? Go up, okay, moderate emulsion, turn right, and we have, okay, 6 by 20 feet. So if we have 6 by 20 feet, it can handle oil capacity of 1,000 barrels per day. If we have more than 1,000 barrels per day, let's say we have 1,500, we may need to use a bigger one, right? Good. This is two size the separator. For your senior design, you use the CBOS textbook to do whatever you need. You tell what size you need. You attach the chart to show the calculation. And later on in other class, I will show you what kind of report get 10 out of 100 and what kind of report get 100 out of 100. Okay. Typically, the report is not long. You get low score for me. Retention time calculation. Okay, one thing that we need to know is how much is the retention time. Use this equation. Gideon, where does this equation come from? Trace? Senior? From me. No, it's from me. Who knows? Where is this from? I don't have anything to give to you, but correct. Correct. So it's very easy equation, but it's important, right? We have relationship between flow rate, volume of the separator, and the time. So this tells us that if we have high flow rate, we may need more volume so that we can have more retention time of liquid inside. If you want to calculate retention time, just put T over that side and it will be 1440 V over W. And this is a unit. And do you know how to derive 1440? Of course you do. Let's say we do it in SI. In SI unit, we have volumetric flow rate, cubic meter per second is volumetric flow rate, right? Equal to volume of the separator in cubic meter divided by time in second. Or you can use, instead of cubic meter, you can use barrel divided by second. So volume in barrel divided by second. You see, this is not minute. If we use flow rate in barrel per minute, then we don't need that conversion factor. Okay. But because we don't use it in barrel per minute, we use it in barrel per day. And I think one day have that much unit minute. So that's why we need 1440. I hope you can do this in the exam. Okay? how to get 1440. You cannot? Can you? You can get it, right? Not a problem. How do you get 1440? Can anyone with calculator? Who have the calculator? Can you do 60 multiplied by 24? It gives you what?
60 times 24?
Yeah. Very good, right? So when I do this, I have barrel per minute first. Okay. And I have nothing here. 1. And volume in barrel, BBL, and time in minute. So instead of barrel per minute, I decide to put barrel per day in. So I have to automatically convert that day to minute, right? So I multiply by 1. So this one is 1440 minute per day. So day we cancel with day, and at the end I still get the same minute. So I move that 1440 over that place, then I get that equation. Somehow, maybe you didn't do maybe not you, but last year or 2 years ago they didn't practice. They get 1 over 1440 and they get 0. Okay? Don't try to get 0. Try to get it correct. Alright, retention time guideline. Gun barrel tank 8 to 12 ounce. Trigger 1 to 2 ounce. Free water knockout is in the order of minutes. The thing to look at here is the unit. Ounce. Ounce means big. A big retention time. Okay. Treater has less retention time, so it's smaller. Okay. And free water knockout is even less. Okay. And this is a guideline. If we have carbon dioxide or something, you may have to double the retention time. Okay. Always check the retention time for fluid in the vessel, see if it's within the recommended range or not. Okay. If you have foam, two-phase separator, I think we have this slide already, okay? With respect to air gravity. When it's become heavy, we need to have more retention time for two-phase separator, okay? And two-phase separator just separate clean gas out and emulsion or water or liquid at the bottom. Three-phase separator, you have seen this in the field trip and in the lab, okay? On the exam, sometimes it's about oil bucket, water bucket, inlet diverter, and pressure relief valve. And if we have that mesh, we call mist extractor. Of course, you can do everything. Very easy. If I have this picture and delete some of the word, you will know what it is. Very good. And this is in same as in the lab notes. When you do the lab, you don't have to return anything, but you have the hard copy of the lab note, and inside there's this kind of equation, right? It's like a YouTube thing. Gun barrel. I add the communication between this adjustable interface nipple and the gas pressure over here. Who else want to answer the question? Volunteer. Who want to volunteer to answer the question? Do something that is very good. Do something good for everyone in this room. Raise your hand, please. Yes, Paul. What is the pressure that you think is in the gun barrel tank? How much?
Pressure in the what?
Gas phase. How much should be the gas phase pressure? 10 psi? 20 psi? 100 psi? What did you see on the East Campus? Do you remember a small model in the workshop? What is this kind of tank has a pressure rating? Of 40 psi. Ounce. Is that what you want to say, Mr. Akrobong? Okay. It has to be in ounce. Not 1 psi. It's rated at, I think the one in the workshop in the East Campus is what, 16 psi, 16 ounce?
There's one defect on one of the tanks that's rated at 16
16 ounce. So it's in ounce. If we say PSI, it's wrong. So typical value of this is 2, 4, or maybe 6, or maybe 8 ounce per square inch. Okay, not PSI. Right? PSI will be too much. That's what you need to know. How do we calculate the height over here? So use the YouTube equation, this thing, right? Hydrostatic head outside is the same as inside. Of course, if there is the communication, if we have the gas equalizing line, and in the homework, one of the questions is the equalizing line get plugged. So you have to add that thing to it. And this thing, water outlet, it just go through water tank, has no pressure, typically, okay? Always small. So gun barrel tank typically is without heat. Okay, we have loose emulsion for all gravity oil to separate. Sometimes, very uncommon, we may have heater inside. Okay, sweet or slightly corrosive oil of all gravity for both loose, moderate emulsion. We can heat it, so we can separate emulsion in gun barrel tank. In fast skin tank battery doesn't have gun barrel tank. Okay, in your design project, you may decide as appropriate to add or not to add that gun barrel tank. Okay, indirect heater is even more uncommon. Okay, if we have more corrosive, so direct heater is for not corrosive, right? If indirect, if you need to use cast iron, that is when it's corrosive. If it is corrosive, is heavy oil, you may need steam generator, so we can heat it hotter. So this thing is uncommon, but just so you know, see what sell it. Okay, but in West Texas you don't see that. Alright, gun barrel tank size, it can be 10 feet diameter by 20 feet high, 12 feet by 20 feet high. It's very fat. It's big. Gun barrel tank is very big and very tall. If you see 3 tanks like this, the tallest one is gun barrel tank. Most of the time, okay? Very frequent. Water disposal well or water disposal facility, if you have several tanks, the tallest tank is gun barrel tank. Good? That will be a reasonable guess if you don't go up real close and take a look. Alright. Nominal capacity. We have 400 barrel, this 1000 barrel, 3000 barrel. If it is big, it may require this size must be field erected tank. Okay. So if we have too big, very big, we need field erected tank. We need some kind of construction. So this is gun barrel sizing. If I buy a certain gun barrel tank, hey, I want to buy 10 feet by 24 feet. Can it handle 4,000 barrels per day of oil? To answer that question, we do this kind of thing. Okay? Go up, see if it's, what is it, air gravity, what temperature that we want to heat or we don't heat at all. Do we have loose emulsion, moderate emulsion or something? And then we go up. Sometimes in Colorado, tank is buried underground. Okay, I have seen that picture. It's even buried underground to keep heat in it. So different players, they do several different things. Alright, so the method to do this chart is the same. Go up to the air gravity, turn to the right to meet the temperature requirement. Go up again to see if it's loose, moderate emulsion or something, and then go to the right to see the tank size. Then we go up again to read the oil capacity. Okay? Very easy. Steam generator, not commonly used, so we skip again, and if we keep skipping, I think not done yet. Heat loss from vessel, we don't skip this, okay? Oh, question, yes.
Do you use capacity of oil or are you doing total liquids on those racks?
Oil per day, barrel or water per day. Then any recommendation? Or just use either or? I think I will read more Siva's textbook and tell you, but I think we should not have much water cut when it go to gun barrel tank, right? We may have like 10%, is it 10% to gun barrel tank, or we have a lot when it go to gun barrel tank?
Well, actually, water will help you in a gun barrel tank, but water retains is better than oil will.
Ah, okay.
So, my own experience with gun barrels is about that big. But I would probably side it on oil treatment.
Okay. If the chart, when we use a chart, is a very good way to get it. But whenever we have some question or we don't know it for sure, use this equation, okay? And try to see, based on that equation, how much is the retention time. When I use this equation, I don't use oil, I don't use water, I use total liquid flow rate. So that I see if there is enough. Do we have 8 hours of retention time of emulsion droplet or water droplet in emulsion? Make sense? You may double check with this and go with the one that is more conservative. Okay? So you may end up do it twice and use a bigger number. That will be good enough. And if I give a 10 ounce, can I tell what kind of droplet that I can separate? Is there a way to know that? Yes or no? Yes, use settling velocity thing. Okay. The settling thing, this equation, it can tell what is the velocity of the droplet of oil in water, right? Provided that we know the diameter. You remember how we derive this? Yes? So this is settling velocity. So if we know the height of gun barrel tank, okay, we know the height of gun barrel tank, we know the velocity, we will know the amount of time that it requires to travel upward. So for a quick look at the gun barrel tank, we use the chart. For more detail or more information, we do actual calculation. You remember the one that we do the lab? In the lab, we say, what is the height that droplet have to travel? So that will be the length, right? And how much time that it take to go through that? Then we calculate how much retention time that we give. So based on the required retention time and the time that we give to separate, then we can decide if it is big enough or not. That is the detailed calculation, use gravity separation. Good? Wind blowing. If we have wind at 5 miles per hour, okay, then we lose some heat. Okay? If we blow it faster, we lose more heat. Heat loss in BTU per hour is this constant factor depending on how fast wind blows. If wind doesn't blow, we use 9.3. Diameter is the diameter of the tank. Diameter